Welcome to Porch Play Chats, sponsored by the American Association for the Child's Right to Play, or more affectionately called IPA USA. IPA USA is the USA affiliate of the International Play Association. And as part of our efforts to promote play, we've introduced Porch Play Chats, which are conversations with people who are just as passionate about play as we are. You can go to our website at ipausa.org. Up in that top right-hand corner, you can be a friend on our Facebook page. You can subscribe to the YouTube channel, and magically, every Monday, a new Porch Play Chat will appear in your feed. I'm Deb Lawrence, and I'm president of IPA USA. And with me on the porch today is Sharon Jackson. Hi, Sharon.
Hey, hi, Deb. Good to see you.
It's great to see you. So Sharon is in her 5th year of teaching Intro to Teaching and Educating Young Children at a community college, where students routinely transfer to 4-year universities for their 4-year degree. She's a trainer and consultant and the owner and operator of Curating Play. Sharon has been a public school early ed teacher and Head Start for 23 years. Prior to that, she had 30 years of experience in faith-based military Montessori settings. And she's joining us today to talk about executive function and how play contributes to the development of executive function. You know, Sharon, when you told me what the topic was, I was like, oh my goodness, this is such a hot topic.
Right.
Because when you talk to teachers, they're always saying, especially after COVID, oh my goodness, the behavior challenges have really increased. Oh my goodness. And you know, that takes up a lot of a teacher's day. So having a Porch Play Chat on helping them understand what develops that emotional self-regulation in their executive functioning, I think is going to be really helpful. So let's go. What a great
let's go. You know, and you say too, Deb, when we talk about what teachers say, and if we're not listening to teachers, then what are we doing? You know, we have to listen to those practitioners and those boots on the ground kind of people in order to support and to improve things. So listening to them say things like, well, they just won't sit still, or they don't listen to a story, or, you know, all the different kinds, he won't follow directions, you know, all those different kinds of tiny things that then add up to what happens. And as you and I were speaking earlier, of low test scores when they get up, you know, in the older grades. I focus, of course, more on very young children, which is where we need to focus for these executive function skills, the development of these things. I mean, they start as young as 6 months being able to attend to us, to look us in the eye. We're built for connection. So making that connection with children and then working with them to grow and develop their executive function skills along the way, then just adds all the success as they go on through to these harder things that we all don't like to talk about. And that's filling in the bubbles and all those kind of things for sure. But just to kind of talk a little first about what is executive function. And as you said, it's such a hot topic right now. You can Google it and find all sorts of articles and blogs and activities and all those kind of things, which is a good thing to do, because it sounds kind of, when we talk about executive function skills, or those processes cognitively in the prefrontal cortex, and you know, we don't want people to get all bogged down in the science of that and think, oh, whoa, I can't do that. It's just making sure that you help them learn to pay attention, because attention is key to success in any kind of academic or down really social experience that children are going to have. If you're not paying attention in a conversation with a friend, that can cause hurt feelings or misunderstandings or all those kind of things. So it's not just pay attention so that you can fill in the bubbles when you're in 3rd grade. It's pay attention so your life is richer. And that's just one, of course, one example of an executive function skill.
And a perfect example. And so if I were a teacher in a classroom and I think, well, I need children to be able to listen and attend, then I'm thinking that if that's the outcome I want, what I should be doing is making everybody come to circle at the same time and sitting down and with their, oh God, please don't say crisscross applesauce. And they should all be listening with their ears and
Mhm.
listening to me read the story. That
Yeah,
is not how you develop executive function.
that is so not how you do it. And yet, especially in higher ed, is that not what we're told and taught, that children need to sit still, look at us, and do what we say, or pay attention to what we're doing?
Not in my
So when you think about attention, for instance, if we want to continue that example, Simon Says is a great way to build attention, because you have to listen and watch and understand the rule of the game, so that if Simon says it, you do it. If that's not a part of the direction, you don't. That's cognitive flexibility. That's paying attention to two different things. That's all kinds of things, and it's fun,
Mhm.
and it's a game. So the idea of even, and I think about, as I mentioned, very young children, something that can grow attention in very young children that's so fun is a flashlight. Turn it on, focus it on the wall, and there go their eyes. Focus it on the floor, there go their eyes. So they're paying attention to the light. So, there's all sorts of things that can be done for this myriad number of different skills process, if you want to do cognitive processes, that that we do, that not only build academic capacity for later on, but they build social capacity, they build emotional strength, they build self-regulation. That's a big part of it. So just the idea of teachers needing support for that, because they may not have ever heard of it before. When I taught second grade 100 years ago, I didn't know what executive function was. Nobody ever taught me that. Nobody ever gave me an article on it, or I didn't hear a lecture on it. Never heard of it. Did I want my second graders to attend to me? Absolutely. And unfortunately for them, 100 years ago, I didn't know how to make that happen, other than pay attention, those kind of things. So to me, the most important thing that teachers can do is be intentional. And that's kind of gotten to be a buzzword lately, but intentionality in what we're planning and intentionality in what we are carrying out is going to make us so much more successful, which is going to make our jobs easier if we are
And I want
intentionally.
to, that intention is so important. So again, if we focus on what we want, what I want is for children to grow and develop and to build their attention to task and to build their social emotional skills and to be curious and explore and build those approaches to learning and master those approaches to learning skills. Then I should probably increase the amount of time in my classroom where children are using their own child agency, their own ability
Absolutely.
to choose where they want to play, who they want to play with, for how long they
How
want to,
long they want to play. Mhm.
and maybe I can also help them develop that self-regulation by not saying everybody's going to eat snack at 9:20, but saying you can eat snack is over here when you're hungry, when your belly, when your body is telling you you're hungry. You can go and wash your hands and sit down, and there's your Rebus pitchers with snack,
Absolutely.
and you can eat snack. I'm not going to tell you when you're hungry, because that doesn't help you regulate your own body. I'm not
Right.
going to line you up 25 children and walk you down the hallway and everybody lines up against the wall waiting for three children at a time to toilet. What if I don't have to toilet? What if I
Yeah.
was really attending to task in the classroom because I was playing, and now you're interrupting me and making and disrupting
Mhm.
that attention
Yeah.
to task.
Yeah.
So, I think if we just say, what is it I want? And then recognize that providing those opportunities for long periods of time of uninterrupted play with few
Mhm.
transitions, which are the hardest times of day for teachers.
Absolutely. The time when they have most behavior, most dysregulation,
And
most
so,
conflict.
why do you do so many of them?
Yeah.
You're making your job so hard.
I know. But love yourself enough to find ways to make your job easier. That doesn't mean that you go sit in the corner on your phone while your children haphazardly run around the room. Right. It means that you're creating these experiences for them that are going to help them grow, but you're going to be watching and observing and taking note on who needs to grow how, or who needs support where, and those kind of things. And that's part of the intention as well. The Harvard Center for the Developing Child has some great material on executive function. And the initial video they talk about for young children has 3 different focus skills in it: working memory, cognitive flexibility, and inhibitory control. So when you think about a pre-K or even up to a 2nd grade classroom, you think about those 3 things. Can you remember what you're doing and how to do it with your working memory? Or can you remember 2-step directions if you're a little older? Can you figure out what to do when your first idea doesn't work? And can you keep from lashing out verbally, physically, however, if things aren't going your way? So all of those are what every kindergarten teacher would love their children to come in with, is the ability to do those 3 things. And so that's a place, if somebody says, that's a whole brain thing, that's all brain-based, that's all researchy. It's really not. When you look at it, helping children learn to do those 3 things, because for working memory to be effective, you have to pay attention, you have to listen, you have to take that information in and remember it. For cognitive flexibility to be a part of how you work every day, when there's no red paint available because somebody just used it all, then what else can you do? What other color can you use? What can you leave that center and go to another one? How can you adjust when things aren't going your way, or when things just don't go like you expected them to? And then just the whole idea of inhibitory control is self-regulation, getting along with others, being able to deal with conflict in a positive way. So like I said, those are 3, if you just focus on 3 executive function skills, those are the ones that are going to really help your children create success. And, you know, at 72, I really wish my working memory were a little bit stronger. So those are the kind of things that, you know, they're going to help us our whole lives. And so that's why the sooner we start with children, then the stronger people that we build, the stronger support that we can give as they go on through school, where they do have more agency, or hopefully where they have more agency and more ability to make choices.
And what is so beautiful about just those 3 simple things is if children have large blocks of time to play and to follow their own interests, then they get practice in those problem solving skills, those inhibitory control skills, those abilities to move from one area to another and hold an idea in their mind about what it is that they want to do once they get there. And so again, it goes back to how our daily routine or rhythm provides opportunities for children to practice and master those 3 primary skills of executive function. And so as a teacher, if I were in a classroom and I said, okay, you've convinced me. Yeah, okay. I understand that if I want them to have more attention to tasks, I shouldn't be making them sit and be demotivated and bored or not interested and getting into trouble. So, okay. So I need to figure out ways as a teacher that I can provide more than 15-minute blocks or 30-minute blocks in the classroom where children can direct their own learning. And okay, so we are on the food program, and the food program says that all children have to be offered food every certain number of hours. I was on a food program when I was teaching, and we did self-serve snack every day. Twice actually. And so you can do that, right? That's not actually,
it's offer. The key word in that situation is offer.
Yes. And if I'm not hungry, because and the other thing I worry about, because we're in this obesity crisis, right, with children who are not only increasing in the percentage of children with obesity issues, but increasingly numbers of children with diabetes.
Yeah.
Well, if I'm saying it's time for snack and everybody has to sit down and I'm not hungry, but you're making me eat. I always go back to what my mom would say, which is why I've always struggled with my weight. And I had a wonderful mom. But if I was upset, she said, let me fix you something.
I know. Yeah, absolutely.
Right? Food was the way
Food
to
is a
make
comfort. Yes. Yeah.
comfort versus a child being able to say, oh, I'm not hungry right now. I want to go play. But boy, in 20 minutes, I'm going to be really hungry. And so then I'll be ready for snack. So it is this ability to give children that freedom to listen to their own bodies and to be able to begin to regulate. Because if we want them to regulate their emotions, they have to be able to regulate their body.
Physically first. Yeah, for sure. For sure. And there's just things that it's not, sometimes when we think about cognitive processes and those kind of things, we tend to think about older students, but babies are as big a part of this as anything. And babies learn to regulate themselves. Certainly a baby can let you know when they're hungry. And if you try to feed them when they're not going to eat. But by the time they're 2 or 3, if it's put in front of them, then like you said, they're going to eat because they're expected to. So I think important also, in addition to intentionality, is expectations. And you've said that a couple of times here. What are our expectations? What do we want to have happen? Well, don't we want well-regulated, healthy, happy, excited to learn kiddos? Of course we do. And this is just a way kind of to look into it and find the things that will allow that to be the way our classrooms are run.
Yeah,
to
absolutely.
Support that.
Yeah, and so if we consider it, looking at our daily routines and figuring out ways to increase blocks of time and forget all those transitions that you're struggling with anyway. Remember where children are developmentally, and then we don't need to at 3 get them ready for kindergarten. They have 2 or 3 more years to develop, right? So that's not our job. So we shouldn't be saying, I'm going to put these, and we shouldn't even be doing it in kindergarten. I'm going to put these 4 centers out and you're going to spend 15 minutes as each.
Right.
That's not play.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
Oh my God. That's not play. And so the other thing I always want to talk to early childhood teachers about is your field is a specialty.
Absolutely.
Your expectations and intentions should really be to form the foundation for all future learning, which is not worksheets, which is not drill and kill, which is not introducing concepts our little brains are not yet ready for. And recognizing that Susie may be on a totally different developmental trajectory than Billy is.
Yeah, that's what I was just going to add, that we don't do one thing for everybody at the same time.
That's why centers and child initiated play. I remember in a kindergarten classroom, I was observing student teachers, and I had a kindergarten teacher who was fabulous, who children walked in the door and she greeted them and she said, where would you like to play? And children went wherever they chose to go in this wonderfully rich room that didn't have a lot of expensive materials in it, but had lots of loose parts and a writing center and a block center and a dramatic play center and
lots of choice.
Art area, just amazing. And I could tell, as not with my student, but with this teacher, I could tell where children were developmentally by which center they chose. Right? So if they were still really, really interested in blocks, then that was a different developmental continuum than if the child who went straight to the writing center,
Writing center, yeah.
or the child who went straight to dramatic play and was role playing and telling everybody what the roles were. And so that observation during play of young children, when they have extended periods of time, tells you so
Absolutely.
much about them.
Does. It really does.
And gives you some ideas on what opportunities you can, how could I enrich the Block Center? Oh, they were talking a lot about going to the zoo. I bet I have some zoo animals that I could put over in the Block Center. Those kinds of observations lead you to enrichment, to carry on those children's ideas and their attention spans.
Yeah. And you can't make those observations if you're at the teacher table guiding worksheet completion.
So just know worksheets don't work even in middle school.
Yeah.
They don't. So
my theory's always been that we don't do anything in early childhood that doesn't benefit a senior in high school and all the way in between.
Yeah.
The hands-on learning, the agency, the interest in what they're thinking about, all those kind of things that we tend to focus on until they're like 5 or 6. Then we let that go and only focus on what we think
we're interested in. Yeah. And just think about being sent to a conference. So Sharon, you're going to go to the AUIC conference, and I need you to just focus on assessment. And you're like, oh my God, but I want to go over here to this one, and this one. That's how children feel when you're not following their interests. And it's like, oh, but there's a snake. I want to talk about the snake that was in my backyard. I don't want you to tell you what I did over the weekend. I want to talk about the snake that was in the backyard and how I chased it, right? And so those are language-rich opportunities of memory retention, of telling the story about the snake. And so again, if we just pick up on what they're interested in, we can deepen and build on prior knowledge, and we get what we want.
That's what I was just going to say. If you take what they're interested in and what you believe you need them to know or do and marry those two, then you come up with a lot more success than if you just take what you think they need to know or do and try to force them into that. Yeah.
They're not ready for that yet. I don't think they're ready.
Who is?
I wasn't ready for I don't even think in high school I was ready for it. So this has been wonderful. And so when we think about maybe a couple of steps that, if I want to know more about this executive function stuff, I don't know enough about it. So can you go back to the Harvard site and give them an explanation again of, you could go here, because that site is amazing.
It's amazing. If you don't know about that yet, you need to, because you can get lost on it. It's got so much good and free information. So it's Center for the Developing Child. If you just Google that, it will pop right up. Then on their site, there's a search bar. You can put in executive function, and it will come up with a video and a great infographic, an article, lots of different things. And then if you want something that's more activity focused, so that you know how to structure activities in your classroom in order to build these various skills, then really you can look at something, just a search engine, search with activities to build executive function. And for the most part, and I've done this a number of different times, for the most part, you get some good things. If you don't agree with it, put it aside and let somebody else think about that one. But the things that you want to work on, those 3 specific areas, you can also just put that in and come up with lots of great activities. And the thing is that we're already doing so many of those things. Like a kindergarten teacher is probably already playing Simon Says at some different, in a rain day, those kind of things. But when you do it with intention, and then you observe the results and just watch which children are great at it and which aren't, then you may be able to have a small group and play it. You may be able to let this child lead the others, those kind of things. And you just build those things into, with intention, how your day works. So
there's a
lots
really
of information out there for sure.
tons of information. And there's the Devereaux Early Childhood Assessment. You can get it on Kaplan. When I was a teacher, I did the Devereaux Early Childhood Assessment, and it is observation, only observation. And you have to know the child for 30 days before you can even
Right. I think that's so key. Yeah.
Yes, you have to know them. The parent fills out one, you fill out one, you sit down and you look at the results, because it is all about executive function. It's all about, can they regulate? It's all about how are their feelings? And so if you're struggling with behaviors in your classroom, the first thing I always say to teachers is look at your schedule. My guess is you have way too many transitions and not enough time for play. But the other thing that you can do is the book for preschoolers, at least, really has some great activities that you can do with young children to help build that regulation for them. And it's play-based. So it's not like you're going to sit down and teach them a social emotional curriculum. And oh my God, today I saw I was on the elliptical, and today they had something called Moxie, and it's a computer like a robot, and it has a social emotional curriculum built into it. And I almost threw something at the TV. They learn social emotional development by interacting with other humans, not with the robot. So, oh my God, what are we doing out there? It's just driving me nuts.
Yeah. You know, I think it's important that teachers remember that a child doesn't wake up in the morning to come to school and make your life miserable. A child wakes up in the morning how they are. You know what I love to say, let them be who they are when they are. And so they're coming to you however they are. And so that's when you observe and you see, what do you need to do to provide tools for them, to provide support for them. And executive function is just one of those places that you're gonna turn to.
And a great place to start. So Sharon, thank you. Don't go anywhere while I close this out. So to learn more about IPA USA, please visit our website at ipausa.org. And until next time, keep on playing.
Bye.